Good evening, and welcome to tonight's virtual information session sponsored by Davidson-Davie Community College. My name is William Past. I am an admissions counselor and recruiter for Davidson-Davie Community College. Please be reminded that tonight's information session is being broadcast live via Zoom and Facebook and is being recorded for future review of the broadcast. Tonight's information session will host highlighted programs of Davidson-Davie Community College, specifically the automotive, diesel, and heavy equipment curriculum. Tonight's guest will be some staff from the automotive and heavy equipment section. They will be delayed joining us, but until that time, I will get started with the presentation that they so nicely prepared for me. But as with any curriculum with Davidson-Davie Community College, if you have questions about the curriculum, want information on enrollment, or would like to take a tour, please feel free at any time to be able to contact us, let us know what you would like, and we'd be more than happy to have you to join us. And then you'd be able to ask any questions that you may have of any of the instructors that we have. Tonight, we are fortunate to have Mr. Scott Overton, who has joined us for our session tonight, and he will give you some information, as well as I will be able to put up the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll just kind of go from that point. And if you have any questions, this is the man right here that can answer them about any of the automotive, diesel, or heavy equipment programs that we offer at Davidson-Davie Community College. So with no further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to Scott and enjoy.
Hello, good evening. Again, I'm Scott Overton, second year automotive faculty at Davidson-Davie Community College. I've been there for approximately 20 years, so doing it quite a while. We offer several programs at Davidson-Davie, degrees, certificates, diplomas. Most folks do opt in for the associate degree. Those programs include 5 semesters, so you get them done in about 5 semesters. Including automatic transmissions, manual transmissions, electrical, advanced electrical, brakes, steering suspension, pretty much everything related to automobile repair, service, and maintenance. The only programs we don't include are those related with collision and body. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that people typically want to know about our program. Courses, the course layout is probably the most unique thing about our program compared to regular academic courses. Academic courses, normal layout is that you take one class in the morning, and then you follow that with another class later in the morning or that afternoon, and then you take those classes together simultaneously as the semester goes along. With automotive and diesel courses, or all the transportation courses at our college, you would focus on one particular area or one course for just a little while, and then you would go on and progress to the next course. So for example, when you start out in our program, everyone would take Introduction to Transportation. And once you start out in transportation, you would be taking that Monday through Friday from 8 to 12 o'clock for approximately 2 to 3 weeks. Then when you're done with that course would end. They call that like a mini-master. Once that course ends, then you start another, which is typically basic electrical. And you would only be taking basic electrical for the next 4 to 5 weeks. Same time frame, Monday through Friday, and from 8 to about 12. And then when that ends, you'd start the next course, and so on and so forth. So that's probably the most unique thing when it comes to layout of our courses. We do get questions sometimes about, well, do I have to take Englishes and maths and sciences and all those good things? And the short answer is yes, depending on which program you sign up for. In other words, if you sign up for doing just certificates, then the answer is no. You would only have to take the automotive courses related to your certificate. If you signed up for either the diploma or the degree, then you would be required to take, and I think it's for the degree, you have to take 2 Englishes, a math, which we actually don't use math for ours. We actually use physics. So it's an industrial physics, which is basically related to our area, specific to automotive, and that counts as our math. Then you have I think it's humanities and a communications, I think is the other courses required. So yes, there are some other academic courses other than just the automotive course load or diesel course load. We also get questions sometimes do some of the classes that count for automotive or diesel count for each other, or are they transferable? And the short answer to that is also yes. Some of them do transfer. It's typically the classes that start with the TRN. If you have a course with the acronym AUT, it would only count towards the automotive program. If you had a HET acronym at the beginning, then that course would only count for heavy duty diesel. But all of the TRN courses would count towards both programs. In other words, you would not have to retake a TRN 110 if they required it for both automotive and diesel. Those are probably some of the main questions we get about the program as a whole. We get some questions related to employment sometimes. When you graduate with a degree in automotive or diesel from Davidson-Davie, are you pretty much guaranteed to get a job? And the short answer to that is also yes. This semester, we just wrapped up, and so we have, I think, 11 people in second year automotive that are graduating, and I think all but 2 of those folks are already working. So the nice thing about it is the industry knows that we have folks graduating in May, so they typically contact us. Our guys typically don't even have to go looking for a job. The job comes looking for them, and they come to us to get them. So that's one of the nice things about going through our programs when it comes time to wrap up and actually get employed, is that you don't have to look very hard because they're there, at the college looking for you. So that's kind of nice as well. So I would say roughly, somewhere in that 90% range, guaranteed to find something before you graduate, and then rest assured that when you have your degree, you could about go anywhere you wanted to, not just in this county, but statewide, north, south, east, west, doesn't matter. So that's probably another good question that we get. I can't think of any else right off the top of my head, unless someone's interested in the amount of pay. Sometimes we get questions about what kind of salary ranges are we looking at, pay ranges. Most of our starting technicians are hourly. They don't work the flat rate or commission, as some people may call it. So you would punch a clock, and typical starting ranges for those folks is somewhere around $15 an hour. I would say that's average. Once you're able to get better, with doing some of the technical trade skills, jobs that you may be asked to do at an employer, they may ask you to go on flat rate, and those folks are going to be making better than $20 an hour, no problem. Approaching 30, depending on how good you are, speed wise, getting the jobs in and out the door. So I think that's pretty much the gist, the big questions that we get on a regular basis about our programs, about our students, employment opportunities, things like that. The only other question I can think of comes from the students' point of view. We get a lot of is, do we get to work on our vehicles, our own cars? And the answer to that is also yes. We do have what we call live projects, community patrons, faculty members that work at the college, as well as students, relatives, those type of folks, as long as the project is related to what we're teaching at that time. The answer is yes. We do get to work on those vehicles of the folks in our program and our campus, etc. How's that?
That is great. I appreciate that so much, Scott. And before I turn it over to Mr. Rumley, I just want to attest personally and thank you and your staff for the work that you did on my van. I'm a living testimony. I mean, y'all were right there, and I appreciate it. You were working on my brakes, my rotors. Y'all changed them out and everything, and I just can't tell you how much that meant to me or whatever, and how much it saved me. So I attest to it, and the job that you did was great, outstanding. So I truly appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Rumley, if you want to take over, and if I'm not sure if you want to run through your PowerPoint or if you want me to share it, you just let me know.
Yeah, you go ahead and share it. That's fine with me. I was having a bit of a fit getting in here. It's like trying to reprogram a Chevrolet Impala for new seat belts or something or another. I was having a hard time getting into the meeting, so I got in a little bit late. I sound like Scott was pretty much covering everything pretty well.
Well, again, I appreciate each of y'all being here. My apologies for the problems and everything, but I'll share your screen and you just let me know how you want to just move forward with the screens. Okay.
All right.
All right. I will put mine up right here. Let's see. Share. Yeah. All right. I think we should be ready. So, okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, as I believe as I recall, this PowerPoint covers both the automotive and the heavy equipment programs. And of course, there's two pathways available for our students. They can go the automotive systems technology, or they can do the diesel and heavy equipment technology. And each pathway has multiple options for the students, allowing the student to decide the level of training that they would like. And, because some students, they may come in, they just want electrical, they may want performance. Same thing on the heavy equipment side. So, there's different levels of training they can take, which of course we highly recommend a student completing the entire 2-year program and obtaining the associate's degree. That by far is the best route in our opinion, and of course, opinion of many, many students that have completed a program. That associate degree has come in very handy to them when searching for a job. It lets an employer know that they have a candidate there that is willing to put into effort to go the extra mile to be all they can be or the best they can possibly be. So we always recommend, a student at least completing the program. And, it's just a matter of which pathway the student would like to take, the automotive or the diesel and heavy equipment technology. Okay. Some of the things that students would be learning, and this would be from both aspects of automotive and heavy equipment. Electrical, we do put a lot of emphasis on the electrical systems and learning how to use the diagnostic tools, how to make proper repairs to electrical systems, reading schematic diagrams. The brake systems, of course, that's very important to me. That's the most important system on the car, especially when the light turns red. And transmissions, will go into both automatic and manual transmissions. We have steering and suspension systems. We teach everything from strut replacement to alignments, right on down the line. We cover those systems very well. Engine repair, there's not as much engine repair in the field today as there was maybe 30 or 40 years ago. Car engines are pretty much bulletproof if you take care of them, you change the oil and whatnot. And a lot of times technicians today are more or less left to do oil leaks and things like that on engines, more so than actual doing repairs to engines. Engines are much more durable now. And of course, engine performance, in the first year, student takes engine performance 1 and 2, and then in the second year, they'll take an advanced level engine performance. And engine performance covers things like drivability issues such as misfires, fuel injection, the various sensors that make the cars run right. And it's a pretty in-depth course, of course, for us to do 2 levels of it in the first year and then an additional advanced level in the second year shows we're putting a lot of emphasis on today's computerized cars and to keep those cars as fuel mileage and emission happy as we can possibly do it. We also talk a lot about the new emerging technologies. Of course, one of the things that's out there now is the ethanol use. And I just read this morning that the administration in Washington has suggested going to a 15% ethanol in our regular gasoline. And of course, the highest level of ethanol you can get is 85%. And it's denatured 15% with gasoline because, as probably everybody knows, ethanol and the old good moonshine or stump rot, whatever they used to call it in the old days, is basically ethanol. And, surely there'll be somebody out there try to drink it if we didn't put a little gasoline in there with it. So that's the way we keep it all on the up and up. Notice the wheel on this Jeep. It looks like a Jeep or a Hummer vehicle there. That's some of the new technology that's coming out. These, run this type of like a run flat tire, which of course it don't have any flats. And then of course there at the bottom picture, we have a charging station for one of the, looks like maybe a Toyota Prius. And those are popping up all around the area, especially in the larger towns, cities. They're putting charging stations in for the hybrid vehicle and all electric vehicles. And those are things that we cover as well in our program. And then, of course, I think Mr. Overton touched on a little bit about the pay and whatnot. And this is a fairly old 2010 to 2020 chart on the number of increase in jobs that we're looking at. And of course, as automobile use on the roads increases, there's going to be an increased need and qualified technicians to make those repairs. So it's a never-ending thing. We constantly get calls from employers looking for quality candidates to fill empty positions in their shops. And I come from a shop. I spent a year at a Ford dealership and then an additional 25 years working at a Chevrolet dealership. And I was here in Lexington, and I was at the dealership, and I guess you could say the furniture factories rolled the carpet up and nailed the door shut. And, seen some hard times, but one thing I can say is I always had a job, and I was always able to make my requirements as far as paying my bills and providing for my family. And I think when you get right down to it, that's what it's all about. So, it's a good field to go into to keep yourself employed. Also, you can see we have some information there concerning salary. And in this area, I'd say most of the time you would probably be looking at around $50,000 a year. And if you go to larger cities, Charlotte, Greensboro, you may see as much as $100,000. Technicians work on what's called the flat rate, or it's commission. You get paid for what you do. And of course, the more you do, the more you're going to make. So it just depends on how motivated the person is. Now, some of the things our automotive technology students can get, we have a certificate. We have the high school career and college promise. We have a certificate for emphasis in engine performance, a certificate in drivetrains, a certificate in drivability and diagnostics, a certificate in the basic transportation servicing as well. And then, of course, we also have that in a diploma, and then, of course, the associate in applied science. And for the diesel and heavy equipment technology, same basic things as the automotive, engine repair, steering and suspension systems, except now you're doing a little bit more complicated alignment system with a road tractor. Most road tractors have 2 rear axles, and of course they have to be aligned to the front end, and then even trailers have to have axles aligned under them as well. Air brakes is common on the large vehicles. Of course, the transmissions, it's a big truck. It's bigger than a car. Everything about it's bigger. These transmissions are huge. And then, of course, hydraulics, when you get into some of the heavy equipment, bulldozers, rubber tire loaders, dump trucks, things like that. So we do have a pathway there, or classes where the students can learn basic hydraulics, diagnostics, and repair. And also, we look at advancements in the diesel and heavy equipment technology field as well. And of course, one of those is biodiesel. Biodiesel is becoming more and more prevalent in the industry, seeing more and more stations carrying it. And some people may know it from the country music star Willie Nelson. He got behind biodiesel using soybean, and had really brought that to the forefront. And as a matter of fact, I was at I believe it was a Love gas station this past weekend, and they had biodiesel there. And that was really the first biodiesel that I had seen. I don't get out a lot, I guess you could say. But we're also looking at and a lot of stuff going on about autonomous vehicles. And that is one of the things that is emerging for the transportation sector of heavy equipment, driverless trucks. And you can see the picture there of the truck running on the electric grid type setup. This is something that we're probably more familiar with seeing in Europe, but it may be something that would come to America, maybe not as large a scale as it is in Europe, but electric vehicles and battery powered vehicles, they're also available in these trucks. And the only thing is just bigger batteries, bigger voltages, bigger motors, and it's new technology. And we need people out there that can work on these systems. Here's another slide, sort of mimic the one for automotive. You see there's a 11% overall increase in jobs expected or projected to happen. And it's giving a salary range of somewhere between 41 to 42,000 a year, depending on exactly what part of the heavy equipment end you go into. And I would suggest those numbers are very low. Most of the time for the heavy equipment guys, they tend to make more than the automotive guys. And of course, I don't want to say they work harder or anything, being an automotive guy myself, but just as everything is bigger on the truck, it's also a bit more strenuous to work on. One of the things I found out in my years of working is guys that work on cars, they don't want nothing to do with a truck. And the guys that work on trucks, they don't even want to work on their own cars. So it's a very, very evident gap between the two there. But you rarely ever see somebody that crosses over from one field to the other. But the heavy equipment guys, as a general rule, I think that the 42,000 for diesel service technicians is extremely low, and to the point that I would say that's probably double that. Also in the heavy equipment, we have the certificate for the Career College Promise. And we also have a certificate for service technician. And these are the guys, service technicians. They're the guys that go in that do the oil changes, lubes. They also do things, adjusting clutches, adjusting brakes, doing general maintenance on the trucks. And it's probably one of the most needed fields available for technicians in the heavy equipment, because these trucks, they only make money when they're on the road. So these employers, they want somebody that's qualified, somebody that's skilled to get in there, go over this truck, make sure this truck is correct. Because if there's a problem with this truck and they send it out with load and it breaks down, it's going to cost money. Also, Department of Motor Vehicles, they'll pull these trucks over and do an inspection right on the side of the road. So the employers want somebody that's going to be on top of the game. They're going to be able to service these trucks, make sure these trucks are in tip-top shape, and they want it turned around as quickly as possible to get it back out on the road, making that money. So service technician is a very, very important job. It's more to it than just changing oil. And then we have the certificate for diesel engines, a certificate for medium heavy duty servicing. We have a certificate with emphasis in advanced medium heavy duty servicing and diploma. And then of course the associate in applied science for heavy equipment as well. Now, these are some of the companies that we have out there that are currently hiring our employees. Most of these, we have employees currently working at these different employers. And of course, we've added a few of them since then. But this just gives you a basic idea of our contacts at the college. And so many times we have students that haven't even finished a program yet, and they've already started working for some of these employers. Most of the time, these employers are happy to work around the student schedule, just to get them out there and get them working. And even some of the employers, I think, help out with tuition and things like that. They're wanting employees that desperately. So there's a lot of jobs. There's a lot of jobs out there. There's a lot of money. There's good livings to be made. So what we try to do, and this is a automotive PowerPoint here, but what we try to do in our programs, both heavy equipment and automotive, is, I can't teach you to be a Ford technician. I can't teach you to be a Chevrolet or a Chrysler, Dodge, or a Toyota, or a Volvo, or a Mack, or a Kenworth. But what I can do, and what we strive to do at Davidson-Davie Community College, is give our students a good, solid foundation. And what I mean by that is we want them to have a basic knowledge of how these systems work. We want them to have the knowledge of how to use the proper diagnostic equipment to go in and do a good job for the employer. And once they're out in the field, the employer may send you to Volvo school. They may send you to Mack school. You may go to the General Motors Training Center in Charlotte or Atlanta for specific training for a certain field that you may specialize in. Used to be, you go back 40 or 50 years, they wanted a technician that could do it all. Now employers, because the systems have become so technological, now employers are wanting that employee that can come in. They can look at that employee's strengths and then tailor a training program around that employee's strengths. So if, say, you're really good in electrical systems, they're probably going to send you to training on electrical items. If you're really good in drivability, you're going to drive it, or transmissions, automatic transmissions, that are a really great field to be in. So, we just try to lay that basic groundwork so that the student can go out and get a job and be a very successful employee. One of the other things about our fields is how versatile the field is. It's not just a matter of working on vehicles. There's designing vehicles, there's engineering vehicles, and then sales, parts. We have many of our students work in parts houses, and that's very important. If you've got a basic knowledge of car parts, how cars work, you're that much more beneficial to that customer that walks through the door looking for a part on his car. I think we probably all have rode by Napa or AutoZone or something, and rode by and seen the hood up on a car or a pickup truck, and one of the employees would be out there with a customer. Well, the customer says, "I need that," and points to it. Well, with proper training, basic knowledge that we can give you, you could look at that and say, "Oh, I believe that is the EGR valve, or that's the throttle position sensor." And that makes you more valuable to that employer, and it makes you very valuable to that customer as well. And then, of course, there's the repair side of it. One of the things about transportation is just how versatile it is. You've got to think that there's people that make the little buttons that hold the door panels on. Somebody makes the carpet. Somebody makes the motor that makes the power window go up and down. Somebody makes the switch that you push. I mean, right on down the line. It's huge. It is huge. So that, and to me, that's one of the things that makes the way we do our program that much more important. Giving you that basic knowledge will allow you to go out there and any segment of the automotive or heavy equipment you can go into and have that basic knowledge and be of help, be of use, and be very successful.
Okay, we're going to open it up in a few minutes for any questions. I do see a few that's posted down here, but again, I just want to thank Mr. Rumley and Mr. Overton for all of this valuable information about the programs that y'all actually offer. One of the questions that was posted in our chat, you had answered it actually, Mr. Rumley, was the fact that from the training that you actually offer, if someone went to work for a place like a Toyota, would they get that specialized training for Toyota, which you did actually answer it. Another question that was posted here is, what type of certifications could you receive from going through your program? And they gave an example such as the inspection certification. Would you be able to obtain that once completing your course?
Well, our program, the automotive program is currently certified, and the heavy equipment program is about to be certified by ASE. That's Automotive Service Excellence, and it is a branch of what is called NATEF, the National Automotive Technicians Education Foundation. And there are, in the beginning of the PowerPoint, I showed the picture of the two patches. Those were patches that students could work toward. Well, not just a patch, but the certificate and the certification as well. But in our program, all our testing, everything that we do, we try to do from an ASC standpoint. And it is designed so that you can, after you complete our program, you could take these ASE tests and be successful in taking them and passing those tests. One of the other things too is that you have to have 2 years experience and pass the test for the 8 different systems on an automobile and 6 different systems on a truck for heavy equipment. But you pass those tests, and then you have to have 2 years experience. Well, your 2 years in our program will count as 1 year experience. So a student graduate our program, go out into the field and work 1 additional year. And during that time, he can take the test. And if he passes the test when that year's up, bam, he's automatically ASC certified. You have to complete, in the automotive end of it, you have to complete 8 tests, which is based on the systems. You'll have brakes, engine performance, engines, steering and suspension, transmissions, and it's basically the same thing in the heavy equipment side as well. Once you complete those 8 subsystems in the automobile or 6 systems in the heavy equipment or road trucks, then you become master certified. And that follows you for 5 years. You have to recertify every 5 years. And that is one of the things that the employer looks at. If a student successfully completes our program and he takes the ASE test, he's master certified, he's got an associate degree, who wouldn't want to hire that guy? I mean, that's or I say that guy or that young lady, that's going to tell you that that's somebody that is going to go the extra mile to be successful.
Great. Thank you so much. I want to tell you kind of on the process if someone is interested in enrolling at Davidson-Davie Community College and entering the automotive and heavy equipment program. We're so fortunate to have one of our advisement staff, Ms. Brooklyn Edwards, that's with us tonight. And Brooklyn, I'm going to put you on the spot in a few minutes to see if you have any comments or anything that you'd like to say. But if you are interested in enrollment at Davidson-Davie Community College, you can go through a couple of steps, and you can always look to our advisement department for guidance. But you basically want to do your residency determination. Basically, that is an application so that we can determine that you are actually considered to be a North Carolina resident. Once you've received your residency determination number, you actually go to our application, you submit your application. Once it's actually certified by our admissions staff, you basically will be sending some instructions on some other items to do, such as your financial aid. There's a new student orientation that you'll need to complete. If you need to give transcripts or have transcripts sent to the school, you do that as well. But once you've actually completed that new student orientation, it automatically triggers Ms. Edwards and the staff in our advisement department, and they will contact you to schedule an appointment, to talk about your enrollment, talk about your curriculum, and actually schedule classes for you. Ms. Edwards, would you like to say anything on behalf of the advisement department?
Just hello. And I have some questions, but I was going to let students ask their questions first, whoever's on the call. I actually have one of my new students. I told him about this session. He's gotten signed on. So I know he's on here. He may have some questions. But if they run out of questions, I have some that I know students are probably going to be asking.
Okay, I do not see anything in the chat right now, so feel free to ask your questions right now.
Okay, well, I have not met both the Scotts yet. I'm actually just been given all the skilled trades at DDCC to be the advisor of. So, but don't be scared. I'm not new to advising, nor am I new to Davidson-Davie, but I'm newer to these programs. So that's why I'm on the call, just to kind of get some information. I made a few notes, and either of the Scotts can definitely answer these questions. So I'm asking from an advising standpoint, but also from the mindset of a student who may have this question, who may even be watching this recorded session later. Tell me a little bit about, let's say a student comes in and they choose automotive, but then during the process, they're like, well, I also want to have a little bit of knowledge of working on diesel engines, which we know are different, or heavy equipment, like the trucks, the tractors, all these different things. Is there a good combination for a student coming in who wants a little bit of knowledge of each to maybe, is there a preference to do the AAS and auto, and what certificates maybe in diesel could they pair with that? So what are kind of y'all's suggestions on a good pairing? So a student has not only a really great knowledge of one of the programs, but how can they learn a little bit more about the other one in their time here?
Well, one of the super cool things that we have with our program is called Trn Courses. And I'm sure you're familiar with that. But we have AUT, which is automotive, and then we have the HET, which is the heavy equipment diesel engines end of it. Well, the TRNs, they're just considered transportation courses. And these are courses that a student comes in, he wants to be in automotive. Well, at some point during this time with us, he decides, I think I'd rather go the heavy equipment route. Well, that's very easily done. There's no big deal. We could switch him over to the heavy equipment program, but the TRN courses would go with him. Everything that he had, all the TRN courses he had taken in the automotive program would transfer right to the diesel, and he would not have to retake those classes. The ones right off the top of my head is the intro classes, the electrical system classes, heating and air conditioning systems, and also I believe the alternative fuels class as well. So if a student wants to go in between, back and forth between the two programs, they can do that and not have to retake those TRN classes. Now, we do have students that come in, and we've had several students go from automotive, graduate automotive, and go right into the heavy equipment. And of course, it's a whole different schedule for them because they'll have to be there for the TRN classes. So, it might be a little difficult keeping on your calendar and whatnot, but it's very easily done. I recommend finishing the programs, because I'm a big believer in the degree. The associate degree, and I'm a graduate of Davidson-Davie Community College, and I know how big a difference the associate degree made in my life. So I'm a big proponent for it. I cannot preach enough about how a student should go through and complete the program. So that's why I keep saying that.
I agree with what Mr. Roman says. Probably the shorter answer to what you were asking, Brooklyn, was what classes could they take that would definitely be a good combination for both programs. Obviously, all the TRN courses that he just mentioned. And I would say that if you took electrical and automotive, you would probably have or diesel, either one, you would definitely have a leg up in each of those. Like in other words, if you took electrical and automotive, or you took electrical and diesel, I don't think you would be losing a whole lot one way or the other. So, and with the way electrical is in all the automobiles and cars and trucks and diesels, they, the different combinations of use, I'd say electrical would definitely include that. All your TRNs plus anything you could take electrical.
Okay, I think that kind of helped me a little bit, because I've had students kind of ask, they'll get to my office and be like, I want to do this, I want to do this, which path should I choose? So just kind of getting a little bit more knowledge to know for sure which pathway to send them on. Now with the certificate, let's say I have a student who's maybe possibly already working in the field, either one, auto or diesel, heavy equipment. So they don't have the time commitment to be on campus every day, you know, to do a full degree. Would that be like a case by case situation, or maybe I'd refer to one of you guys to say which certificate would work for him then, what or her? Do y'all see that a lot, or is usually the associate's degree kind of the key program that students are choosing?
Let me take that one.
Please.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm stumping you. We can
no,
have a
it's all right.
sidebar conversation.
One thing for sure, if you say Scott, one of us, you didn't miss us, right? I don't know that they're, you know, it would depend somewhat if a student was looking at something particular. Like, for example, if we had a student that worked that came in and let's say she worked at a transportation or an automatic transmission shop, and she just wanted to get something, you know, specific to automatic transmissions. We do have a certificate in drivetrains. So that one would make sense for her if she came in and that's all she wanted to do was just sharpen her skills in the transmission area. So yes, I would say that that can be done on a base, you know, depending on, you know, what that student needs or requires. But I would say, you know, just like Mr. Rowan said earlier, getting the associate degree is by far the highest in demand. You get more hands-on training. You know, 2 years of in the training in our area is a whole lot more than a lot of folks get if they just go start working right out of high school in the field, because you kind of get thrown right into the fire if you've ever, you know, gone from high school or a program where you didn't get the 2 years and they put you in and you start out, maybe you're doing, you know, oil changes or tire rotations, things like that, and then you know, next thing you know, you blink your eyes and they lose a person, someone transfers to another shop or something, like you get thrown right in, and it's just basically swim or die in a lot of cases, learning on the job kind of stuff. And that's difficult for some folks, and a lot of young technicians, they struggle with that initially. So I think having that associate degree, getting that 2 years, you know, as much training as you can in our field, in our areas, I would say would be more beneficial. But if you got someone who's already out there working, they're already trying to make a living, they don't have the ability to go full time to complete an associate degree, then yes, I would say on a you know, per or as needed basis, you would just make adjustments and try to be more focused on what they need.
Cool. Yeah, I agree that the degree would always be the best route that I would typically, you know, refer a student to for sure. So
it's hard
thank
to
y'all.
convince that someone they're already working, you know.
It's already in the field. I can see why that would be a challenge. Now for new students coming in, because now is the time of year we're getting our high school grads showing up in the advising office. And over the summer, they're going to start coming to us. And I know your program is summer because I've registered a lot of the second year students for the summer. Would y'all ever, you know, speak with a prospective student, new student, let them come over, look at the shop, let them see some things to kind of get a real good view of what they'd kind of be getting into? Because some students I've talked to, most of the students that go into your program that I've noticed, of course, already have that interest. And they're probably already doing this as on the side as a job or as a hobby with a parent or a friend. But some students we get in here that really have never been exposed to it and have never experienced that atmosphere. So would that be something you guys, I don't want to reach out and ask you guys to do that if you're busy teaching, but is that ever something you could do just to kind of stop for a minute and talk with a student and show them around?
I'll be teaching this summer, teaching a heating and air class for automotive and for heavy equipment. So I'll be on campus from 8 to 2. Monday through Thursday, and I'd be glad to meet with any student. It don't matter if it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. If you contact me or a student contacts me, I will be happy to meet them at the transportation building and walk through with them. I've done that many, many times before, and I was going to actually offer that before we got off here today. If any students would be interested, I would be more than happy to meet with them and show them the building and where the classes room, Love City classrooms and all that stuff, and just to familiarize yourself with the building a little bit. I think that coming into a new environment like that, it can be just a little bit spooky. So if that one-on-one, be great. If that makes them more at ease and more comfortable, I'm all for it. And it's well, let's see. I just don't know exactly what I want to say there, but anyway, I'd be happy to do it. If you contact me or the students, either one, I'd be more than happy to meet. And I think that goes for Mr. Dollars and Mr. Overton.
I'm not on campus in the summer, but any other time, absolutely. I can get there. If he can't make it, I can get there.
Well, lucky advisors are year round. So Mr. Rumley, I will take you up on that myself if that's okay. So I'll reach out to you so I can come over. Because as I did with all my other programs, I always go check stuff out and see where my students are going to be, because I just like to know what they're doing.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the things I'd like to point out too about our program is, we talk about the guys, and we have had several young ladies come into the program in both automotive and heavy equipment that have been extremely successful. I personally just love it because I've worked at a shop and it's all men, and then this young lady comes in and she's showing these guys how to do it. I just think that's awesome. But as far as you had mentioned too, that a student that had never worked on cars, was unsure if this is what they wanted to do. Really, from my standpoint, and I am generally the first face you see in the automotive program. I am the first year instructor. And I would really prefer that it be a student that has little knowledge, because sometimes old guys that's worked on cars for years and years, like I have, can put bad ideas and bad ways of doing things, like using screwdrivers for pry bars and things like that. So, it's harder for me to get that out of a student than it is to put in the correct way to do it. So really, I prefer a student that has a limited amount of knowledge on working on cars. And that's one of the things, the very first class we do, I bring my toolbox into the classroom, and we start going through the tools and identifying the tools. I pass them around. This is a wrench, this is a ratchet, let the students hold them, and that helps them remember. So, I've had students come in and didn't have no idea what a combination wrench was. And, bring them in, you teach them that stuff, you teach them the right way to use them. And generally in the end, they come out to be much better technicians. And so, personally, I would rather have a student with a limited amount of knowledge.
Thank you so much. I'm not going to take up a lot more of your time, but before we end this, Mr. Rumley and Mr. Overton, you have to tell us with the Transportation Center about that cool race car that you have sitting in the front lobby. Can you tell us the story on that one? I want to get in there driving sometime.
We'll take you for a ride sometime.
It is a pretty cool story, though. The car itself was purchased from a graveyard, a car graveyard, if you will, by the Johnny Kepler Memorial Automotive Club there at the school, and I believe it was purchased for $100, if I remember right. And it came, like, literally, it didn't even have an engine in it when we bought it. There was a tree growing up underneath the hood, and so we brought it to the school. We got an engine donated by a former instructor who also was an engine builder for local race shop. Actually, it's kind of his own business, but got an engine donated. The students got to build it there in class, as he was one of our instructors at the time as well. Transmission also was done there at the school. We had some help from one of our local industries, B&M Automotive, Bobby McGee. They're transmission specialists is what they do. So they helped us out with the transmission. We got that built, and then I was able to take one of our manual transmission classes, and we did the differential in the rear of the vehicle. Got all the drivetrain and the engine and all that set up, and then we had a student, high school student, which when I say all this, I would say 90% of this work we're talking about was done by high school students. It was predominantly done by high school. And one of those high school students had a father who was in paint and body repair. He had his own shop, and he was actually able to help us out with a paint job on it. When we first got it, it was half rust and half white. And then did that, black gloss for us. And then we got some wraps and decals and things from some donations and things like that from the community. Even the fuel, when we used to take it out and actually drive it on the racetrack, was donated by a lot of the industry in the county and people that were in the community that were really interested in that program. And it was done as part of our race car performance program. We had a 2+2 or 1+1 or whatever they call it, where you would start or be able to do some of the race car performance program at Davidson and then transfer to Forsyth at the time and wrap up a 2-year degree in race car performance. That agreement ran out, so many years ago, and we didn't, continue with the race car performance there. But it was a neat project, neat story for those folks to get to do. And at one time when we were racing it and taking it through the parades and all that, it was probably our biggest marketing tool. It got to where people recognized it pretty regular. Got kind of its own personality. So, but it is neat. Rumley and Larry, Dollars, they do most of the driving of it. I'm kind of scared of it myself personally. So I'm not one for speed. So it's fastest thing I've ever been in, or at least that I know of anyway.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And once again, Mr. Overton, Mr. Rumley, Ms. Edwards, to anyone who has joined us tonight, thank you so much for joining us for this valuable information on the automotive, diesel, and heavy equipment curriculum at Davidson-Davie Community College. It's an outstanding program. As you said, it's a demand occupation. You don't have to worry about employment. So if you have interest in this program, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to give you more information on the program. And as stated, we'd love to take you for a tour of the facility, and so that you can ask any questions that you may have of our faculty. Again, thank you.